Hello, Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday. Whoa, every Sunday at noon. And then I post this stuff up to Facebook. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom shakalaka done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international and they're super easy to use and they're very affordable, which makes me very happy because most of the people that need help that are in domestic violence situations do not have that much money. So thank you, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, so current events and also a little housekeeping. So housekeeping, I am going to be going on tour this spring and summer. So I will be going to Houston. I will be going to Pensacola. I will be going to, where's the next one? Charleston. I'll be doing Richmond. I'll be doing Philadelphia. What? You're laughing at me. Thank you. And I'll be in York, Pennsylvania, because my friend Donna threatened me with death if I don't come to York, Pennsylvania. So don't hurt me, Donna. Anyway, so I'm going to York, Pennsylvania. If you want the dates and everything, because I can't find that piece of paper I had, it has disappeared. I will bet you Lucky ate it. Go to chrisgodinez.com and then is it events or appearances? Appearances. Go to appearances and it will have all of the list of where I'm going to be. So, and I'll probably add some more as we kind of figure out where we're going, what we're doing, and all that sort of fun stuff. So, anyway, there is that. Okay. So, I wanted to do also some housekeeping. So, I got it wrong. I just want to apologize. It was not Reagan that cleared out the mental health institutions, it was Kennedy. I did not know that. I always thought it was Reagan because Reagan was in office when they all got emptied. Apparently, let me look this up. It was where are we? The deinstitutionalization through optimism, the Community Mental Health Act of 1963. So apparently it was one of the last things that President Kennedy signed was to get rid of the institutions. And the reason why is because of all the abuses that were going on, plus the fact people were writing about it. There were movies about it. There were, and honestly, the institutionalized places like Pennhurst were horrible. There were horrific abuses going on. And Trans-Allegheny and, all of the other huge ones that were meant to house like 500 to 1,000 people. And they ended up housing like, a couple thousand, which never a good thing. So, anyway, I got it wrong. It was Kennedy that did that. But then Reagan was pushing the community health clinics and they all popped up and then they all immediately failed because, as we all know, mentally ill people generally don't have enough money to get a job, have insurance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, I just wanted to do, hey, I got it wrong. Here's the correct information. It was Kennedy. It was one of his last acts that he signed off on. And then it happened to hit right when Reagan was in power. So there we go. All right. So if you make a mistake, own it and correct it and move on. So there we go. All right. So there is that. Okay. Current events. So speaking of mentally ill, there have been several shootings in this week. One was at the mega church in Texas, and the mother-in-law had come out and said that she had tried reporting this person multiple times and nobody would do anything. So the question I've received multiple times is, why can't people who are a threat be incarcerated or put into a psychiatric facility? Well, for the 1963 Mental Health Act, basically, you cannot put people into a mental health facility unless they are a DTO, danger to others, or a DTS, danger to self. That's it. That's the only two reasons you can do it. I mean, if they have guns, there's no red flag law in Texas, so you can't just go and take their guns from them. So, and apparently this gun was bought not through a dealer. It was probably a private interaction. They don't do background checks on private gun transactions. So, the problem of it is that every single mass shooter has had provable mental health issues. That's the problem. and keep yelling it until somebody finally figures it the bleep out. So it's a mental health issue. It really is. And there needs to be better oversight on how this is done. I don't know how to fix it. I'm not a politician, but I can tell you right here and now, unless and until the mental health issue is addressed, we're going to continue to have problems like that. Obviously, warehousing is not the way to go. Part of the reason why Kennedy wanted to get rid of the institutions is because his sister, Rosemary, probably had bipolar, just based off of what I've read about her behavior and things like that. They gave her a freaking lobotomy and her life just went to crap from there. So I totally get why he did what he did. Do I agree with it? Sort of, but not really. It's like there's got to be a happy middle ground somewhere. But again, it's follow the money. Mentally ill people don't have money generally. They're not able to keep a job. They generally don't have health care. It's people this corporations are so corrupt that all they care is about the mighty Benjamin. That's really it. That's why I left the homeless shelters, because the agency I was working for wanted me to change diagnoses to get them more money. And I was like, no, first of all, that's illegal. Second of all, that's unethical. And third of all, I'm not going to freaking do it. You know what I'm saying? So they don't care about the actual client or the actual patient. And it angers me, because really what they care about is the money. And I'll just give you an example. So in those institutions, people were being dumped into there that were not mentally ill. They might have been physically disabled, or they might have had uh, other issues going on, okay, that were medical, that were not necessarily mental. And so you had a population that was mixed with severe criminally insane and kids that had mental slowness, or maybe autism, because they didn't understand back then. They didn't get it. So they would shove all this population together, and then they're like, oh gee, why is there so much violence? You know what I'm saying? It just, don't get me started. Anyway, so the point being, the coffee has hit, number one. Number two, there's institutionalizing them is not going to work. Are there some people that need to be institutionalized? Yes, probably. Absolutely. They will probably never get better. And part of the problem is that there was not enough oversight on these places. And who's going to get the money for this? Really, it would boil down to insurance companies. And like I said, mentally ill people do not have insurance. Corporations want money. How are they going to make money off of them? That's really what it's all about. And it really saddens and angers me, because it really should be about how can we make this world a better place. But I'm an idealist, and oh well. Anyway, that's that. So where was I going with all of this? We need more mental health help in this country somehow. Don't know how to do it. I don't have the answers. I have no clue, but I'm sounding the alarm. This is a huge problem. And the more the populations grow and the more mental health is swept under the carpet and pretending not to be there, the more problems we're going to have. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. So anyway, there that is. So that's my current event thing. Okay, today, dun, 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 we are talking about parental affect. So how do parents affect their kids? How does this generational trauma get rocking and rolling? So somebody had also asked me about chapter 7, section 3 of The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van der Kolk, who is my personal Mick Jagger. Love that man. Anyway, so he wrote a huge, wonderful book called The Body Keeps Score. If you have not read it, read it. He's so funny, because when I was talking to him, he was like, you read it? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, really? Like he didn't expect me to have read the whole thing. He's like, it's very thick. And I'm like, well, yeah, I have a lot of time on my hands, so anyway, it's a great book. Read it. It's going to make things make a lot of sense. And somebody said, could you please kind of help me walk through this whole attachment thing? So we're going to talk about how parents mess up their kids. So what happens? All right. So it really doesn't matter whether it is, in my opinion, whether it is the mom with the son or the dad with the daughter, although that does have an effect. Their abuse or their neglect essentially is the same on both kids. It doesn't matter the gender, is what I'm trying to say, is that, it affects the self-esteem. It affects the sense of security. It affects the sense of whether we are safe in this world or not. Okay. So with a parent that has got mental health issues, any mental health issues, whether it's severe depression or a personality disorder or anxiety or whatever, the kids pick up on that. Kids are not stupid. I cannot push this enough. Kids are not stupid. Now, granted, they may not cognitively know how to deal with stuff, but they certainly pick up on stuff. Absolutely. Have you ever been babysitting a baby and you're watching something sad and they're crying on the television? All of a sudden, the baby gets really concerned and sad. They're picking up on that. They're picking up on that. Babies pick up on visual cues. They pick up on tone of voice. They pick up on emotion. They pick up on everything. So if you've got a good parent that is consistent, and the key is consistency. So a lot of times parents will be like, oh my God, I didn't do something one time and did I mess my kid up? No, 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 guys, it's not a one-time thing. When you've got neglect or abuse going on, it's over and over and over again. Complex, right? Complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So it's complex. It happens all the time. And so the kid learns very quickly whether this parent is attentive or not, or whether the parent is picking up on cues or not. Kids give us cues all the time as to whether or not they want to be played with. My dogs give me cues as to whether or not they want to be played with. So a parent who is not picking up on clues and on cues, they're the ones that do the damage because they're not present. They're not paying attention, and or they don't care. If you're dealing with a narcissist, they don't care. But so when we are babies, okay, itty bitty babies, this is why I love the Inner Child Workbook. When we are babies, it really is important that we bond with our caregiver and that we feel safe. That is the biggest thing. So how does a baby know they're safe? Well, the caregiver is smiling at them and holding them and cooing at them and loving at them. And you're wonderful. You're this, you're that. Oh gosh, I'm so happy to be here with you. This is awesome, And the baby feels that, oh, this person likes me. Okay, this is good. So it's a evolutionary thing, and it's a verbal thing, and it's the whole thing. So we bond with our caregiver. Now, if our caregiver is inconsistent, so for example, they leave the kid crying themselves literally hoarse in the crib, that does not feel safe. That makes that kid feel like, holy crap, I'm on my own. I don't know what to do because I'm pretty much helpless right here. Seriously. So there was a whole time period where they encouraged parents to just let the kid cry it out. And I'd like to find whoever decided that that was a good idea and basically throat punch them. That would be nice. They're probably dead by now. But the point being is they had this whole thing where it was like, oh, let the kid cry it out. No, abso-freaking-lutely not. No. So anyway, and a great example is I had a client that worked the Inner Child Workbook, called me up in the fetal position on the floor going, oh my God, my throat is raw. I haven't been screaming, but I feel like I've been screaming. And then I said, did they leave you alone in the crib a lot? And they lost it. And we started talking about that. So don't do that. Not a good idea. So inconsistency. It's when the caregiver is not present, and the kid knows it. The kids are not stupid, guys. Kids may not have the cognitive ability to express things necessarily, but they certainly pick up on things. And they do notice. They're little sponges. They notice everything that goes on around them, which is why domestic violence is so harmful and hurtful to them. They hear the yelling. They hear the screaming. They feel helpless. They don't know what to do. They're terrified. Here are two big adults screaming at each other, threatening to kill each other, throwing each other into the wall. Oh my God, what do I do? I need to protect me and my little one, my sister or my brother or whatever. And they become the adult in that moment, So it really does affect them. How adults react around them affects the kids. So attachment. So if a kid has got a secure attachment, it's consistent. They, mom and dad love that kid. That kid loves mom and dad. It's consistent. There's no neglect. There's no abuse. There's none of that. Okay. Usually in domestic violence situations or drug abuse situations or alcohol situations or whatever, the caregiver is not present. There's not enough bandwidth to be there for them and the baby. And so the baby gets neglected. And so it's inconsistent. Like one minute the person's fine, the next minute they may be raging, or they're sad and crying, or they're just forgetful or whatever. And so that kid learns really quickly. It's like, what's going to walk it? What fresh hell is this? That's what Dorothy Parker used to say. What fresh hell is this? So, yeah, they learn very quickly. It's like, well, what's going to happen now? Who's going to come walking in through the door? Is it going to be Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde? It was very scary, right, to those kids growing up. So secure attachment is when it's like, okay, mom and dad are there. I'm loved. I know I'm loved. They love me. I love them. It's consistent. It's been consistent. There's been none of this neglect or abuse or, one minute they're good, next minute they're not. None of that. It's been consistent. They go away. The kid might cry because kids do have separation anxiety, but they get over it and they go about. And then when the caregiver comes back, they go greet them and they're happy to see them and they make eye contact and they hug them and they run to them and that kind of thing. That's a secure attachment. Okay. An insecure attachment. Okay. Let me get to Psychology Today because I wanted to read about this. Hold on. Okay. Glasses. If I could find glasses. Gewalt. All right. Okay. Okay. Children with a secure attachment may be distressed upon separation, but will welcome warmly the caregiver. Anxious resistant attachment describes a child who is frightened by separation and continues to display anxious behavior once the caregiver returns. So in other words, the caregiver goes away, they flip out. They probably won't calm down. I've seen kids like that. And the caregiver comes back, but they're still like nervous and scared and frightened and they're not sure and they could be clingy or they could be, they're just, it's not a normal way of doing it. Okay. Avoidant attachment denotes a child who reacts fairly calmly to the parent's separation and does not embrace their return. So avoidant is they're like, come, go, I care not, whatever, do you. They've learned. It's like, this person is not consistent. I don't know when they're going to come back. I don't know when they're going to be here. They come and go, whatever. It does not affect me. So it's kind of like, I've learned to deal with this on my own kind of thing, which a lot of survivors of abuse have. It's like, I'll do it my own damn self. Screw you. And that's where we learn it from, is by the inconsistency. Disorganized attachment is manifest in odd or ambivalent behavior toward a caregiver upon return, approaching them, then turning away, or even hitting the caregiver, may be the result of childhood trauma. So that's what kids go through. It really does matter how the parent interacts with the child and the consistency of the parent. So basically, regardless of whether it's the mom or the dad, it really messes with the kid on into adulthood. So attachment styles in adulthood. So you can have secure attachment where everything's good. You can have anxious, preoccupied, high anxiety, low avoidance, dismissing avoidance, low anxiety, high avoidance, and fearful avoidant, high anxiety, high avoidance. So those are the type of styles that generally come through as adults. So can attachment be worked on? You betcha. You betcha. It can change. 100%, just like self-esteem can. Now, is it always going to be a go-to? Yeah, that's going to be your first thought, but you can work with it and you can overcome it. So this article was on Psychology Today called Attachment. Just look it up. Yep. So that is that one. So basically, the kid learns how safe their world is from their parents. Now, with my dad, I can speak from personal experience. My dad was abusive. He was a drug addict, alcoholic. Opiates were his favorite thing. And I think whiskey was probably the next, bourbon, actually. So he was very inconsistent. You never knew what was going to walk through that door. So that creates that very anxious kind of, what is going to happen? Is he going to be nice or is he going to hit me? What's going to happen? So it's a very anxious kind of thing. With other attachments disorders, like say, for example, the disorganized one, where the kids are acting out in preschool, they're biting kids, they don't know how to react. They don't know how to, that too comes from parental stuff. What is going on in the home? Are the parents connecting with them? So With dads to daughters, again, same thing. Doesn't matter. Dads to sons, self-esteem issues. Self-esteem issues. It creates self-esteem issues because if you've got a parent that comes in and one time is, oh, I love you, and then the next time is, oh, I hate you, what? The kid gets confused. Again, and it's that intermittent positive rewards, and that's intentional. So the kid gets confused. It's like, well, do they love me or do they hate me? But their behavior shows that they hate you, which is really confusing because they're sitting there going, oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. But then their behavior is not loving. So the kids pick up on that. They're not stupid. So a kid with their very egocentric, but not egocentric like you're thinking. Egocentric meaning kids have this magical thinking where they are the cause of everything. Seriously, this is why it's so damaging to kids when you've got an abuser that's in their life because the kid thinks it's their fault. They do. It's if grandma dies, oh, it's because I was mad at grandma the other week. No, sweetie. No, grandma died because she had cancer or whatever. But do you see where I'm going? Kids think things happen because of them. Something they said, something they did, something they thought. Lots of magic thinking with little ones because they don't have the cognitive ability to deal with the crazy adult crap that's going on in their lives. So the main thing that happens with an abusive parent is the low self-esteem and the anxiety. I clearly remember asking my mom, I must have been, I would say probably about 6 or 7. I remember looking at her and going, do you love me? Because I really wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure because she said she loved me, but she let this guy, my dad, hit me whenever he wanted. DAFUQ. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how can you love me if you're allowing that kind of thing? So, and I was very anxious. I was very scared growing up. It was a terrifying household to live in. It really was. You never knew what was going to walk in through that door. So, and mom didn't protect. Mom did not protect. And that's another key thing in this whole thing. It's like, where's the safety? Where's the safety? So with moms that are disordered, it can affect both the sons and the daughters, but particularly with the sons, they do this weird either infantilization where they make the kid unable to have any adult responsibilities whatsoever. They take over the bank account, they take over everything, they do their homework for them, they try to make them reliant upon them like this, so that they never leave because the kid would be afraid of failing if they left. So, but I've seen them do that to daughters too. But also with the moms and with the dads, and here we go, trigger warning, I'm going to be talking about some sexual abuse here, so just be aware. Incest, incestual behavior, incestual things that are going on, emotional incest, that happens very often, both with moms and dads to the opposite sex child or sometimes to the same sex child. So they make the kid their confidant. They tell them things that they absolutely should not be telling them. It's like, dear Lord, don't need to know that. That's too much. Kids can't cope with all of that stuff. During divorces, they'll tell the kid all of the intimate details and exaggerate and this, that, and the other thing. And now the kid knows way more about their parents' sex lives than they ever wanted to know. You know what I'm saying? With the incest stuff, the dad will molest the daughter or the son, the mom will molest the daughter or the son if they're really disordered. It really does happen. I'm not kidding you. It does. So, they are extremely damaging to their children. They create all sorts of problems. So my dad did sexually molest me. He was a sexual molester. And my biggest fear was being raped by him because I think he was on his way to doing that by the time I left. So that's why I left home when I was 17. It was dangerous. I could not stay there. It was not safe. I was not going to survive if I did. So I left. I got my place up in Chico, started working as a waitress. My sister helped me out. My mom did finally help me out, and my dad was furious. He wanted me home immediately. And I'm like, no, thank you. I'm not your punching bag. So, anyway, they do all sorts of horrible things. So they do the infantilization so they cannot support themselves as adults. And the reason why is because they need that kid to stay with them. It's sick. And they need to feel needed and they need to feel superior and they need to feel in control. It's all about control. They will interfere with their children dating. If there's not the incest going on, interfere with their children dating. Now, my mom hated my dad. She did. She refused to do anything to protect me. But yet, a couple of things she did, and it's in my book. Hello. What's Wrong with Your Dad? Available on Amazon. And I talk about this. She followed me on dates. She would interrupt dates. She was obsessed with my sex life or lack thereof. I didn't lose my virginity until I was 22 because of them. Honestly, I would have left it when I was 16 if I'd been on my own, but no. Anyway, point being, they interfere with your life. Absolutely. When I got married, she refused to go to my wedding because she was convinced I was making the biggest mistake of my life by getting married because she had had such horrible experiences with men, so yeah, they've got all sorts of crazy stuff going on. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention. One of my listeners wrote their own book. I'm so proud. So this is Judy Kowalski. This is Out of Bristle. And this is her book about her abuse and her recovery and her journey to healing. So thank you. Thank you for sending this to me. And it's really important, guys. Do write your stuff down. If you feel so inclined, publish. Because honestly, the more people that write their story and share it and can say, hey, this crap happened to me and I freaking survived, the more that encourages other survivors to also survive and tell their story. And the more that gets rid of abusers because now they got nowhere to hide. We're on to them now. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, there is that. So anyway, yeah, they interfere with your kids' normal development. And I had this conversation this week with John and with my friend Shatha, who's a life coach. She's also my trainer, my workout trainer. And we were talking about socialness. And she's like, why don't you ever want to come do the social things with me? And I'm like, because I feel really awkward. I don't feel prepared. I'm good with it in small, like I can do small gatherings, no problem. But when it gets big, I'm just kind of like, too many people. It's 2 people in here. I need to leave, So, and why? Because we weren't really given the social how-tos and our development was interrupted, quite frankly. My mom kept us isolated out on that ranch in Gridley and we didn't socialize. We didn't get a chance to go do birthday parties or play with other people a lot. I did some, but not a lot. So yeah, so the effect of the parents on the kids mostly hurts their sense of safety in the world. Like, am I safe? Am I not? And it also hurts their self-esteem. It's inconsistent. Like 1 minute they love you, 1 minute they don't. Oh, it must be me because of the magic thinking that kids have. And we go through life thinking that we're somehow not good enough. Do you see where the beginnings of the inner critic started? Yeah, that's where the inner critic came from. It doesn't necessarily have to be something verbal that they've said. It can be behavioral. That inconsistency, I'm there, I'm not there. Well, what does that tell the kid? And especially if they're not there for important things or if they sabotage important things. What does that tell the kid? It tells the kid they're not good enough. Tells the kid they're not worthy. Tells the kid that they're not deserving of happiness or they're deserving of love or, whatever. So it interferes with the child's natural development and it makes it hard for that kid to go out into the world and to form secure attachments. So how do you fix the attachment issues? Can they be fixed? Yes, 100% they can. So basically what it is, listen to me now, believe me later, you work on your self-esteem. The Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. You've got to give yourself the self-love, the self-respect, the self-esteem that mom and dad did not do for you. So if they were abusive, neglectful, drug addict, alcoholic, whatever, inconsistent, not there, you've got a fearful, anxiety, avoidant, whatever, self-esteem. Y'all got to know who you are in this universe. And it's not how mom and dad reflected to you. So mom and dads who are disordered, hold on. Mom and dads who are disordered give us a funhouse effect. It's not who we are. They do not reflect accurately back to us who we are. Mom and dads that are secure and healthy and normal, they give us a generally good idea of who we are in this world. You're loved. You're liked. I like you. You're cool. I like hanging around you. You're fun to be with, What a great kid, that kind of thing. Disordered parents get angry at the kid when it's really stuff that's them, tell the kid they hate them. I've seen that too. Oh God. They tell them all sorts of horrible things. And this kid starts wilting away, literally, like they don't know who they are now because this person who was supposed to love them has given them this pack of lies and they don't know who they are anymore because their reflection back is a funhouse mirror. It's distorted. It's not real. So it's really important to work on straightening that mirror out, literally doing the mirror work and giving yourself the real stuff, which is, hi, good to see you. Have a great day. I give you permission to like yourself in spite of those jackasses. Like seriously, and then walk out. Some people have a really hard time looking in the mirror because of the amount of nastiness they got. If you cannot look in the mirror, say it out loud. I need you to hear it. I need you to hear it. You got to hear yourself say those words. Hi, you know what? It's good to be me. It is. I am a good person and I am happy and I am okay and I have the right to be happy and okay, and screw anybody who says otherwise. Seriously, you got to start working that. You've got to be a warrior for yourself. You've got to be the self-esteem warrior for yourself because you didn't get the self-esteem from mom and dad that you needed. They are our first loves. They are. They are supposed to be our protector, our caregiver, our first loves, the whole thing. And if we get a screwy sense of it, oh my God. And how does that play out later on in life? Well, the screwy sense of ourselves plays out with the low self-esteem. So we don't date people that we think we are that are good. Okay. We date the bad boys or the bad girls, or we start rescuing people. Okay. Codependency. Hello. Because why? Because caregivers that are disordered do that. Help me, help me, help me. So we help them. And then 2 seconds later, help me, help me, help me. And so we help them. And then 2 seconds later, because we're trying to get their approval. Okay. That's again a self-esteem issue. It's like, if you know who you are, you don't need other people's approval. You need your own approval. So the codependency comes flying out. We start dating people that are bad for us. Why? Because that inner child inside of us looks outside and goes, somebody who kind of sort of subconsciously reminds me of the caregiver I had the hardest time with. Here's the caregivers I had the hardest time with. I know if I can make that person over there love me, I prove mom and dad wrong. Half of a doo-doo sandwich, half of a doo-doo sandwich, total doo-doo sandwich. It's never going to work. So that's why working on the self-esteem is so vital. The next thing you need to do is work on the inner child. We need to regrow up that kiddo in safety, in consistency. You want to be consistent with your inner child. So for example, if you kind of start working on the inner child and put it away, you're repeating a pattern. Let me say that again. If you kind of start working on the inner child, but then put it away and go, oh no, I'm busy. I got other things to do. You're repeating a pattern. That's what happened to your inner child. Your inner child maybe got some good stuff, and then the parents shoved you to the side. No, I don't have time. I'm busy. You're repeating a pattern. You might want to journal about that. So you want to be consistent in working on your inner child. Don't just do it for a little bit and then put it away, because you're reinforcing the not worth it thing. So if you're having a hard time and you're wondering why you're having a hard time, well, did you put the book away? Did you not finish working on the inner child? Did you decide that there were more important things going on? You're repeating a pattern. Your inner child just got reinforced that they're not worth it. Don't do that. Please love your inner child. Your inner child needs to be loved, and they need consistency. They need that constant, I am here. Ain't nobody going to mess with you. I will break my foot off in anybody's ass who tries to. That's what they need. They need that protector, that consistent love, constant, I'm here. Sun comes up in the east, sets in the west. I gotcha. That's what they need. So if you're working on the inner child, stick with it. Don't stop. Don't be like, oh, I'm busy. I don't have time. Because that's what our parents did to us. Go away, kid. You bother me. That's literally what they do to our kids, to us. That's what they do. So, and my dad actually said that one time. It's like I came to him with a problem because I was having a problem with a principal at school because she was a bully. And I said, hey, Dad, I need to talk to you. And he looked at me with absolute and utter contempt and said, and it's in my book, and he said, I have enough problems of my own, and turned around and walked off. And at that moment, I was like, okay, good to know I'm on my own. You never want to do that to a kid. You don't want to do that to your inner child either. So really be conscious. How are you treating your inner child? Are you just repeating patterns over and over and over again? Oh, thank you. Are you just repeating patterns over and over again? Or are you really being consistent and protecting the inner child and loving that inner child and helping them grow up so that they're not stuck in that fear and abandonment and terror and aloneness and everything else? Damn near every single child that's been a survivor of abuse feels disconnected from society. We do, and we feel alone, and we feel like we can't depend on anybody else, that we have to do it all ourselves. And that's exhausting. It is. And it's really important to work on self-esteem and the inner child workbook so that we learn to trust our gut. And out of trusting our own gut, we know who we can and cannot trust. And so it's not so hard anymore. Now we can rely on some people, but we also know that there are some people we cannot. So it's learning to trust your own gut. That is hugely, hugely important. How am I doing on time? I cannot see anything with these contacts on. Dear Lord. Okay. Oh, I guess I should shut up and start answering questions. So anyway, I really hope that helps. That's really kind of important to honor yourself and oh, thank you. Honor yourself and be your own parent. So it's really the attachments are what was the consistency and what was the message? And did they pick up on cues? That was the one thing I wanted to say before I left. So Bessel van der Kolk talks in his book about a mom who just didn't pick up on cues. So she was in the kid's face and playing with them, and the baby looked away like, okay, too much, I'm done. Because babies do that, dogs do that. And she didn't pick up on it. And so she kept poking at the kid to interact with her because it was now all about her. Do you see where I'm going with that? Instead of honoring that kid's cue, I'm done, I'm overstimulated, I've had enough. She kept poking at the kid and trying to make him play and all of this stuff until the kid started screaming and crying and then got angry at the child and decided he was difficult. Wow. Yes, that is what disordered parents do. And that messes up the kid because we learn very quickly that, okay, my boundary's been crossed. They're just going to continue to cross it. I don't know how to make them stop except by screaming. But then they abandon me when I scream because now I'm the bad one. Do you see where I'm going with that? So it's really important. Get with a good trauma therapist. Yes, you can do the work on your own, but you must be consistent. You cannot just be like, yeah, I'll do it now. I'll pick it up 6 months from now. No, you must be consistent. You must work on it consistently. It is a daily thing, guys. It is a daily journey. I still do mirror work. I'm going to be 59 on Tuesday. I still do mirror work. And I'm going to do mirror work until probably beyond, being too old to get up and look in the mirror. That's just the way it is. It's like we've got to make sure that we are safe and okay, and our inner child has grown up and we're good. And our self-esteem is where it needs to be. And this is a daily journey. It's not a one and done. It drives me crazy when people are like, how long is this going to take? A lifetime, but make it fun. Make it fun. I love looking in the mirror and saying goofy things like, good to see you. How are you? Have a great day. You know what? You have the right to tell trolls to piss off. Something like that. Or whatever you're working on. So it's really important to have fun with the mirror work, but also you can also get really serious with it as in, well, how did you want to be talked to? How did you want your caregiver to speak to you? And then do that. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. Oh my gosh. I give you permission to really like yourself and then walk out. That's all we wanted. We wanted that love. We wanted that acceptance. We wanted that, hey, I'm safe and this person's got my back. So have fun with it, but also make sure you talk to yourself the way that you wished your caregiver had talked to you. Be the parent you needed that you did not have. That's what that mirror work is all about. So, okay. Self-esteem workbook, Lynn Schiraldi. Disease to Please, Harriet Breaker for the Codependency or Facing Codependency by Pia Melody. CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. Bessel van der Kolk's book, The Body Keeps Score. Excellent. Yeah, those are the things you need to work on. So the attachment is how our caregivers treated us. Were they consistent? Were they not consistent? Were they reassuring? Were they not reassuring? Did they dismiss us? Were they blaming us for their miserable life? 9 times out of 10, yes. And so we make it all about ourselves and we make it that we're not enough. And that's simply not true. So we must work on the self-esteem. We must work on the workbooks consistently. Otherwise you're repeating a pattern. And I just want to make you aware of that. By abandoning yourself, you're repeating that pattern. Don't do it. You don't need to. You don't need to, because we're never going to get their approval. Because I've seen some people be like, well, but if I blow myself up and if I hurt myself, they'll love me. Nope, not worth it. Not worth it. They are never going to accept you the way you needed to be accepted, and it won't be consistent. They'll love you as long as the eyes are on them, and then it'll go right back to ignoring or right back to damning. So, nope, it's not about them, guys. It's about you. It's about working on your self-esteem, your empowerment, your love for yourself, your freedom from suffering, your freedom from thinking that it was you. Do you see where I'm going with that? That's what you want to work on. So that is what is that for the parents and how they affect their kids. They really mess up their lives, and it's generational if it doesn't get worked on. So if it doesn't get worked on, we're going to pass it on to our kids, and you don't want that. So anyway, there it is. Okay, let's see what we got for questions here. Okay. Do narcissistic parents have separation anxiety themselves? My late narc mom would be a hysterical wreck if I didn't call every week, blaming me as I was abandoning her, yet she abandoned all of us. Okay, here's something you guys need to know. You can have borderline personality disorder and narcissism. You can have multiple issues all at the same time. So, borderline personality disorder born of trauma. Okay. However, if there's narcissism on top of that, it's going to be all about them. So you're not able to have your own life. You're abandoning them if you get married. Because my mom was very much borderline for sure, 100%. You're abandoning them if you get married. You're abandoning them if you don't call them every day. You're abandoning them. So it's a combination. It can be both narcissism and borderline personality disorder. Now, remember, borderline has got traits of narcissism in it. So everything's on a spectrum. Okay. So here's traits of, over here is full blown. So borderline personality disorder is trauma born. It is born of trauma. And unfortunately, it has traits of all the major personality disorders. So they can be obsessive compulsive, they can be they can be narcissistic, they can be antisocial, and not like full blown, but little hints of it come popping out. So, and as they slide further down the spectrum, it goes from traits of to major traits of to holy crap. Okay. And then at the holy crap part where it's like, yeah, full blown, all of the personality disorders, whether it's narcissism or borderline or antisocial or anything, all start kind of overlapping. It's the weirdest thing ever. So yeah, when they're full blown and they've gone all the way down to the dark side, all of the personality disorders kind of start overlapping and all of them start coming out, which is really scary to see. So in that case, I would say boundaries like a boss. You owe them nothing. If you want to call them, great. If you don't, great. And don't be held hostage to their guilt trip. Don't take the guilt trip. There's no room service. Don't do it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to do it. And if you recognize the guilt trip, fear, obligation, guilt, they're trying to make you feel guilty or obligated, and you owe them goose egg. So don't fall for it. So what I tell my clients is when a parent especially is like, oh, you didn't call me, you didn't, how dare you, blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. I gotta go. Talk to you later. Bye. Gray rock. No emotion. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. And then when you get off the phone, write a go fuck you letter. Go screw you letter, sorry, and then go burn it in the barbecue. It's like, dear mom, how dare you, how dare you try to send me on a guilt trip? I'm not going on guilt trips anymore. They're expensive and there's no room service. Screw you. I'm not doing it. I see what you're up to. I'm taking my power back. You have no room in my head anymore. Bye-bye. Go pound sand and then go burn it. And then decide how much contact you want with this person. You don't owe them anything. So just remember that. Okay. All right. Glasses. Okay, here we go. All right. How are we doing on time? Okay, we're good. I have really been diving into The Body Keeps Score. Yes, after your recommendations of it, it is great. But I'm finding the section about childhood attachment dysregulating. Is that to be experienced? Oh, yeah, 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 guys. Anytime we read any book on the stuff that we've been through, it absolutely will be a trigger. 100%. 100% it'll be a trigger. Why? Well, because we're dealing with the stuff now, the real nitty gritty that we went through. So, what I recommend is get a good trauma therapist. I would also write it out. It's like, which part specifically did you find dysregulating? What really hit you? And then realize as you work through the inner child workbook, you're going to have triggers with that too. As you do the CPTSD book, you're going to have triggers. You're going to find yourself dysregulating because we're coming up against the abuse. We're coming up against what the core issue is. So, in a way, here's the good news, bad news. This is kind of good because now it's like, this is dysregulating to you. Okay, well, what is it specifically? Let's get to the nitty gritty. What is that? What is causing the dysregulation? What event? What does this remind you? Oh, I just got goosebumps. What does this remind you of? Ooh, boy, big goosebumps. What does this remind you of? What happened in your life? What at this point in time? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? How old are you at this moment? What's going on? So that's why it's really important. Like if you find yourself triggered, in a way it's good, in another way it's awful because like who likes being triggered? Oh, nobody. But in a way it's good because now it's like, ooh, what is it? What is this? What is this that's causing the dysregulation? What is the thought? What is the memory? What is the feeling? What happened? And then start working through it. So journal, 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 write it out, write it out, write it out, write it out. That is the best thing you can do. And comfort yourself. Really, 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 really comfort that inner child. You're safe. You're okay. Nobody can hurt you. If there's flashbacks going on, it is just a memory. Is it painful? Yeah, but it cannot hurt you. So keep working on you. Keep working on you and don't stop just because you're feeling triggered or dysregulated. It's like, this is important. This is something good. Something good is going to come out of this, but you got to go through the icky first. I'm sorry. So you got to go through it to figure it out. But this is a good sign, essentially. But you got to self-care. Self-care like a boss. I mean, drink plenty of water, eat healthy food, get exercise. And something I wanted to mention is they just came out with a study that I was reading where they were saying that, like, look, if you're depressed, it's incredibly hard to do good things for yourself. But really, if you do good things for yourself, it does help. So specifically exercise. And I know that's usually the last thing anybody wants to do when they're depressed. But when we're working on all of this stuff, it's going to bring up a bunch of stuff and you may feel depressed. So take care of yourself. Go for walks. At the very least, get out of the house. Go for walks, get some sun, get some fresh air, drink plenty of water, eat healthy foods, talk to friends, don't isolate, really important. And yeah, this is totally normal. And I'm so proud of you. So keep going. This is scary, but it's necessary. And you want to make sure you have support and you want to make sure that you keep going and don't just stop. Don't come up against the wall and stop, bust through it. What's on the other side? What caused this? What was the thought? What was the feeling? What was the memory? What happened? So yeah, we all do get triggered when we read these books. 100%, totally normal. So that's why it's important to have a support group of some sort, like family, friends that are trusted, or a therapist, or or an actual support group. But you want to make sure that you have support and that you're not alone, and that you're not alone, and that you comfort yourself as much as you can, but bust through it. You're right up against it. So good job. Excellent. So yeah, that totally normal. So yeah, it just means that, okay, we're to the core issue. We got to start working on this. So there is that. Okay, let me see if we have anything else. Nope, that is it. All right, you guys have a great week. And I think it would be a good idea to go back through normalizing what it's like to survive abuse. Because I think a lot of people, I get newcomers coming on this channel all the time and they're like, oh my God, am I crazy? So I want to go back through what we're going to go through and what to expect and how to take care of yourself and what is normal and what is not normal kind of thing. So I want to do that. So I want to make sure everybody understands. It's like the triggering, the flashbacks, all that stuff, that is totally normal. So I'm going to talk about PTSD, CPTSD. I want to talk about self-care. And that's that. All right. So next week we're going to be normalizing behavior, I think is what I'm going to call it, or normalizing, or something like that. So anyway, there it is. Thanks you guys for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Share these videos. Have a great week, and I will talk to you next Sunday. Bye.